Welcome to our short, sharp how-to guide on assessment and planning. First thing I wanted to cover is the what and the why. So understanding what it looks like and why it's important are key factors to doing it well. Little quote here from My Time, Our Place, also something similar in the Early Years Learning framework. The planning cycle describes the process educators follow in recording, responding to and supporting children and young people's experiences in school-age care settings or education and care settings. Educators make many decisions about curriculum planning based on their professional knowledge, their knowledge of children and young people, local context, and their understanding of the vision, principles, practices, and outcomes of the framework. So the core part of our educational program. This is a little quote from our National Quality Framework, in particular the referencing the National Quality Standards. Planning ensures that the educational program or practice responds to children's strengths, abilities and interests and scaffolds and extends their learning. It ensures that educators' practice is intentional and supports children to progress towards the learning outcomes. So again, a really core part of what we do and helps us to develop really rich and meaningful programs. So now really quickly, I'm going to try and give you a lot of information in a short period of time. The how. So understanding how this fits into our daily practice makes change possible. So first of all, the overview, I guess, of the cycle itself. So observing is gathering information in any format from multiple sources over a period of time about the learning outcomes and each key component, including children's interests. Assessing, drawing on your knowledge and interpreting, analysing that learning and how it links to the outcomes of the frameworks. And then developing a written plan for what you've got planned in advance. Things may change, but that's your advanced planning for goals for children's learning experiences, which include indoor, outdoor, group experiences, transitions, routines, and thinking about what you're going to be teaching in terms of teaching strategies and also experiences, group experiences, learning centres, inquiry-based learning, all sorts of different things. And then implementing is the doing part, and that's where you might record some information about whether or not things changed and ideas emerged from what you had originally planned. And the last bit is evaluating the effectiveness of what you've done. So was the learning achieved? Were the teaching strategies appropriate? Were the experiences rich and meaningful? Were they on track? And critically reflecting on your program as a whole and your teaching strategies. Were they inclusive? Were they drawing on the child's cultural identity, for example? Were they aligned with the ethics and frameworks and all those sorts of things? So learning frameworks guide the cycle as well. So all the information is at your fingertips in the learning outcomes and the key components. So the key component is a little point written under each learning outcome. On the left, there's information about what could be observed and what this learning looks like. And on the right is content, concepts and knowledge to be covered, skills and dispositions to be developed, connections with people and community that promote this learning. So all you need to do is have a look in here in order to give you inspiration, I guess, and give you some ideas as to how to assess learning and what sort of things to plan. So understanding play-based learning and intentionality is really important for effective assessment and planning. In particular, the idea of building on children's interests and using the interests as a vehicle for learning, knowing what type of play experiences facilitate what type of learning and recognising the holistic nature of children's learning. Couple of examples. This one here is an observation about a child, and I've written it in the way of a summative assessment. In other words, a cumulative information. I've incorporated information from families as well. I've interpreted that. So Sally's been really challenged by anyone doing anything for her lately. Mum's mentioned this a few times. She's concerned. She's getting really frustrated, angry, being able to do most things independently, like opening a lunchbox and taking off her clothes, but getting really frustrated with putting her shoes and socks on. So an assessment of that learning. Susie's developing a sense of identity as a capable, independent person who has agency and wants to act with autonomy. Learning outcome number key component 1 and 2. She may need some help with understanding and accepting help when needed. And this means that you are being capable and competent still. Learning self-help skills that support her to feel good about herself. Learning outcome number 3, key component 2. Some experiences, looking at some books in a group experience and strategies and words for asking for help. And then individual strategies, where I'll work with Susie one-on-one to help her feel okay, set some goals with her, and identify strategies that help her to get there seeking help, including seeking help from others. Learning goal for Susie to feel supported in developing her autonomy and empathy for others. Evaluation, plan strategies didn't work well, made some adjustments involving Susie with helping others. That helped her to be able to feel okay with accepting the help herself. Critical reflection, Susie feels empowered and really a lot more confident and happy to accept help and sees herself as a helper. This is really a successful inclusive strengths-based strategy. So let's lead a little example of the planning cycle in one go. That one comes from the cycle of planning for individuals. And this is an example from the assessment and planning, and it's a group observation plan. So follow up on children's interest in literacy, exploring patterns and symbols, gardening and physics of rolling balls. So children begin to understand how symbols and patterns work. Children develop a range of learning and thinking skills, problem solving, inquiry, experimentation, hypothesizing, researching and investigating. So these are just the key components. That's how I write my learning goals for groups. Children resource their own learning with connecting with people, place, technologies, natural and processed materials, plan experiences, mind mapping, graphing and setting up learning centre with open-ended materials, pattern examples and collecting data on seeds and seedlings. I'm very high level at that stage because I'm a very experienced teacher. If you need to write more information there, you can. Intentional strategies, drawing what children already know, their funds of knowledge, question their play and what they were trying to figure out, discussing experiments and their features and asking children to predict results, involving children in all aspects of gardening and invite them to share their experience. I've condensed a lot of that stuff, so it's on one page for you, but you get the drift. So hopefully that's been a really good, short, sharp collection for you. On the slide here, all the content is drawn from, most of it's from the Assessment and Planning Cycle course. You've got a QR code there, you can link that in. Some of the individual record was from the Cycle of Planning for Individuals. So if you're interested, the website address is on there. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any more of these amazing vids.